If your parents told you to turn off the news, you can leave this on because this is not the news. Today I'm bringing you a little segment about all of the misinformation that's going around in the real estate world right now. There are several topics that I've heard rumors flying about this week, and I want to get to the bottom of it, largely because I am a black belt, varsity worrywart, and none of us right now can deal with any additional worries, especially if they're just plumb fake. So I'm going to tackle some of these rumors head on and hopefully answer some of the questions y'all have and take some of the weight off of your shoulders. The very first thing that keeps flying around is that this real estate environment and financial environment is exactly like the Great Recession and the market crash of 2008. And that one really frosts my Pop-Tarts because it is so far from true. We were in such a different financial place when we entered the crisis of 2008 than we were going into the coronavirus. The cause of the 2008 crisis was humans and business and financial monkey business. And the cause of what we're experiencing right now and may or may not continue to experience is simply related to a virus. If you must compare it to anything, the most helpful comparison that I've heard is to a natural disaster. There's trauma, there's sadness, there's change happening right now, but there will be a rebuilding period and things will go back, spring back, if you will, to normal. 2008 had no end in sight, and in our current area, we do have somewhat of an end in sight. We've got dates on stay-at-home orders. We've got other places around the world that we can watch. We understand that there will be an end to this virus. We will beat it. The exact date is unknown, but in 2008, very few people saw it coming, and very few people knew that it had an end. Years and years and years, they went through these repercussions. With this, all models that I've seen predict a boom in the real estate market as soon as restrictions are lifted and people get back to normal life. Another really big difference between then and now is home builders. And home builders right now are about 40% less in production than they were in 2006, 7, and 8. And the reason why that matters is because that contributed a lot to home prices soaring. Home builders were way overproducing, creating these homes. People were buying them with little documentation, and the market just kind of went nuts. Right now, home builders are underproducing, leading to somewhat of an inventory shortage, which I'll get to later. But overall, it is such a different, more stable environment, strictly related to the virus and people having to stay inside. The financial market is in a much better place regardless of what the stock market looks like. The real estate market is in such a night and day different place. I wrote down all of my gripes because I have so many. The best resource I can tell you about 2008 and understanding that crisis and the differences a little better is called The Big Short. It's a book, but I highly recommend the movie. It's a really great watch while you're stuck inside. It'll help you understand the causes and how 2008 unfolded. And you'll very clearly at the end of that be able to see that what we're going through right now is scary and traumatic and may very well impact our market, but it is in no way a copy-paste of what we saw in the Great Recession. So definitely check that out and let me know what you think. The second rumor that has been going around is that there's going to be a great deal to be had and people are going to scoop up foreclosures. So this comes out of that 2008 mentality, and there were a lot of foreclosures and short sales and bank-owned properties after that crisis. Now that is not the case because many states, I think nationally, they've paused foreclosures and evictions. So they are more in the vein of helping people right now than evicting them, foreclosing on their homes, and things like that. The real deal that you will find is in interest rates. I'm going to touch on that in just a second, but no matter what you hear from hour to hour, overall, we are seeing them at a historic low. So that is really where you're going to find your monthly payment savings. versus beating up a seller on a price of a home or, scooping up this great short sale deal. You may find sellers more willing to negotiate or a slight bend in the price or terms here or there, but that's largely driven by emotion and their desire to find a great buyer and that sort of thing. Inventory is still low and demand is still high, so economic science tells us we are still cruising along at some kind of speed in our market. One of the most important things that I can tell you to do right now is to listen to your local news, your local trusted advisors, and not focus as much on the national market or the global market, because especially in real estate, it's so different region to region, and it will only prove to stress you out more hearing what your sister in Montana is going through. Next up, we have that rates are really high or really low. That, according to most of my mortgage contacts, changes by the time of day in which they're pulled. They can be really low on certain days in the morning, a little bit higher in the afternoon, or vice versa. But what we are seeing overall, again, is that they are historically low. So a risk that you could consider taking would be to wait for the rates to drop even further. Could it happen? Maybe. But I encourage you to talk to a mortgage professional and stay in touch with them throughout the ups and downs, because really the savings in a couple of percentages of a point is not going to be that great. So you really have to work with them to gauge the pros and cons of locking in a certain mortgage rate and what that looks like for your monthly payment. The next mortgage-related question, which I'm going to touch lightly on and not dive fully into because, again, you need to talk to a mortgage professional, is that I don't have to pay my mortgage payment. And that is very untrue. If you cannot, there are national, state, and local things in place to help you with that. If you can afford to, it is very important that you do. If you cannot, you would go into something called forbearance. You would apply through your mortgage servicer. So that's the person you pay your bills to and not who got you your mortgage initially, and talk to them about your options. What I would suggest is to say, hey, I'm going to have some trouble paying my mortgage this month. What are my options? Because forbearance, the term, looks very different to different servicers, different borrowers, and all kinds of different scenarios. One very vague scenario would be that you would skip 3 months of payment, but then you would owe it plus interest at the end of that 3 months, plus the payment for that month. So by no means are these payments going away, and that's why it's really, really important to talk to your financial planner and your mortgage servicer about what the options are. So that's what I've heard everywhere is mortgages are canceled. Not the case, my friends. The last one that I will touch on is that it is a bad time to buy or sell. And that one also grinds my gears a little bit because it's such a personal matter. What it is a great time for is to listen to yourself and your trusted advisors, to talk to your family and understand your scenario, to follow a plan, to stick to a plan, and to understand how your specific needs fit into the bigger picture. If you've been saving and hoping to buy a home for years or months and you finally found one that you love, there is nothing stopping you from getting that. If you run into a situation where you need to sell, demand is still there. Inventory is still a little bit low, so that's deterring some buyers, but honestly, it was low when we were going into all of this. There, again, will be a predicted surge at the end of all of this of new homes, new buyers, and new sellers hitting the market. But right now, there is absolutely no reason that you can't safely buy or sell a home as long as you're qualified. There are multiple plans in place for sellers using technology, using the internet, doing virtual showings, all kinds of things like that can still get you top dollar for your home. And same with buyers. Virtual showings exist. Virtual open houses exist. People have been buying homes sight unseen for years, but that is not even a mandatory thing. You can still do showings very, very safely. You can still have inspectors, you can still have appraisals. All of these things in Wake County are still happening. So just know that that part has not changed drastically. So I hope this helps kind of dispel several of the rumors that have been driving me nuts over the past couple of weeks. If there's anything else that you hear that doesn't sound quite right, always know that you can either call myself, your trusted local realtor. If you don't have one, I can help you find one, or your mortgage professional, and one of your tribe can most likely answer the questions that you have. But please don't worry about anything that's out of your control. Take care of yourselves, take care of your family, and ignore the noise and the fake news that's kind of surrounding us.